Welcome to another episode of the VDA podcast. And today we're going to talk about the power of surrender. And I'm super excited for this conversation. But before we begin, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit like on this video and subscribe, as the more likes and the more subscriptions, this is going to be able to reach other people that also need to hear these conversations that are spirit led and soul led. And if not, if you like this video, you can always also share it with a friend that you feel like might benefit from the conversation we're about to have. But the power of surrender is also going to talk about the womb and the womb space and how powerful the womb space is and the correlation of surrender with the womb. So get ready for this powerful conversation with Nata, who is a powerhouse of the womb, and you can just hear the power that she truly holds in this conversation. So I'm super excited for the interview, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. And in this episode, we have Natalie Galati, a womb keeper who specializes in reawakening the natural body's intelligence through ceremony, ritual, and healing practices. Natalie is a Kambo Ceremonialist, a Mayan Abdominal Massage Practitioner, a sound healer, a medicine woman, and an Integrative Pelvic Health Practitioner. So I'm super excited to have you here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me, Ashley. I'm so excited to be here today and share a little bit about my work and my path and support, whomever has questions about these incredible, like tried and true practices that really help you anchor in, this reawakening into your womb and your heart space.
Yes. Something that I'm super excited to ask you about, which we might get into a little bit later, is
Mhm.
about the Mayan abdominal massage training that you received. And the reason why I am so curious about it, one is because I found it in a loophole somewhere, the same way that you found it. And we were able to see that because we were training together in the New Earth Medicine Woman program. So my first question before we get to the Mayan abdominal massage is,
Yeah.
how did you start like your spiritual journey to the path of
Oh, that's a great question. And I feel like every time I'm asked it, I have a different answer. Right? Because it keeps unfolding and it's not linear at all. The timelines kind of meld into each other and all of this work and these goals and this path kind of expand and contract with our lives. Um, so I want to say I'm 35, about 13 or 14 years ago was when I first really began sitting and being okay with the knowing that
Mm.
everything else was just false almost, and that like the way of the heart and the spirit was the true way, was the true path. I think it was very shocking. And being who I am, of course, I dove right in. Um, I began, should I tell you a little bit about it?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. So I was in massage therapy school and
Oh my
I
God, me
know,
too.
well, I didn't finish because again, being the woman that I am, I couldn't sit still for that long and just knew that these hands held the key and knew what the magic was. And, being licensed really wasn't a part of my path, right? But again, it started to come up in the next chapters of my life. So instead of being licensed, I'm traditionally trained.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, I was in massage therapy school and I had a good friend who was like, listen, I want you to come to these theta healing courses. And I was like, theta brainwaves. That's cool. I like that. Was going through some challenging times in my life, and there was about a 3 month block of classes, and I was like, you know what? I won't just sign up for one. I'll sign up for all of them. And um, uh, being in the theta state for 3 months straight really allowed me to break through some deep barriers I had around what my path was, who I should be. I was a hairstylist in New York City for quite some time, and through the time of, still walking and beginning my path, and was in this beauty industry that was super cutthroat and based on all of these superficial things that ended up not ringing true to my heart anymore. And so I was living in this world, these two different worlds, but being in those theta states really shattered one world. And I was like, how could I ever go back to that? Like, I know the essence. I have felt the power of our spirit and community and what this can unfold into the greater good, and since then I haven't looked back. Although it's been very challenging and tricky to navigate and tumultuous, and the boat's capsized a bunch of times. I've still found myself digging my heels deeper into the earth, getting my hands dirtier, opening my heart more, even if it feels like it's cracked wide open and I can't take it. And that was really the beginning of my path. And after that, I began working with psychedelics. Well, I had been dipping and dabbling in mushrooms and psychedelics medicinally and in ceremonial ways since I was about 16 or 17. Um, and then finding in those theta classes, I found a mentor, and she took me under her wing. And she, of course, we're just so potent, She had these dreams that there was a frog and she had to go find the frog because it was going to save my life. That point in my life, I was uh I was knee deep in my substance abuse problems, uh and I couldn't pull myself out of it. And it was all of these alternative therapies and healing modalities that I was working with, and nothing was getting to the root inside of my body, the tentacles that were holding on to me. So she had this dream about a frog, and she went and she studied the frog, and she came back and she said, I have this gift, I have this medicine, and I've been asked to share it with you. Will you join me on this walk? And I began sitting with it diligently. Sitting with Kambo is the medicine, uh, frog medicine from the Amazon, and began sitting with it diligently and clearing out all of those tentacles and these old, really, really deep hooks that I had within me from this lifetime, last lifetime. Honestly, it doesn't really matter where it came from.
Mhm.
um and and was called to start studying it. So that's what really set me onto the medicine path and walking the beauty road. And from there on, once you get one well once I once I got a an idea about what there was, what gifts the world has to offer when you have more space inside you. um I was game. I was like, sign me up for it all. I'll go. You show me. I'll show you. We'll figure it out together. So that was a big part of my launch pad, I guess I can say, into my way of life.
Well, that's beautiful. I've actually been curious about the frog medicine and Kambo
Mm,
in particular. So, and part of it is because one of the fears that I have are frogs. And I heard someone say that your biggest fear is also your greatest gift. And
mm,
I'm
yeah.
eventually,
Yeah.
eventually.
And whenever you need a safe space, I have practitioners all over the United States and some in different countries. And I have an organization that I work with too. So we're far and wide reach.
Oh, what's the organization?
Yeah, so the name of the organization is called Rana Que Sana, the frog that heals. And we are in deep roots and communication with a tribe from Acre, Brazil, called the Yawanawá tribe. We work in solidarity and reciprocity with this tribe. We gather together to learn the indigenous ways of this medicine, which is how I serve it, without all the bells and whistles that I know some people truly appreciate and need in their healing journey. But I'm a little more cut and dry when it comes to traditional ways. I like to follow the path. So we work with them. My teacher, my page, Nainawa Yawanawá, we assist them with for their teachings and their gifts and their blessings for us to be able to carry this medicine safely. Um, we help provide them with solar panels and new bathrooms and structures, and transportation and visas so that they can come and teach and enjoy different cultures and learn more about the world themselves.
That's beautiful. I'm gonna have to add the information for that group in the show notes for anybody that would like to connect.
Absolutely.
Yes. And talking about traditional and staying traditional, let's go ahead and dive into the traditional Mayan abdominal massage.
I love it. I love it. I mean, it is just, it's incredible. And uh, abdominal and womb massage is one of the earliest recorded modalities of healing, written recorded, in the world,
Beautiful.
with roots tracing back into ancient Asian cultures, of course, South America, African roots, everywhere that the seeds really were planted in this world, you can find scriptures on it, um, which is which is so beautiful. And when I speak about it, all the cells in my body are like, it's the remembrance, and that's truly what it felt like. I began my journey into pelvic work, the action of learning how to help and coach people through pelvic connection, with actually with integrative pelvic work.
Yes.
So I began there, I think at the beginning of the pandemic, because I had always, worked with my hands and just the calling of the codes within the bones of the pelvic bowl were just wild to me during that time in my life. And I knew that there were places to unlock within there, and getting deeper connections between the heart and the vaginal canal. And so I took a beautiful course on that. And it's really cool because we weave together like shamanic dream journeying, with it, so that you're in these deeper meditative states, which allows you to kind of get rid of what you no longer need. Um, but it really sparked my interest. And like you, my sister, with working with our hands, massage therapy, I every time that I would put my hands on somebody's bones, they would ignite. And I know you know what I'm talking about. And I know so many of us women know that feeling where it's just like, and I knew there was something out there for me that was deeper, that was like, mm, in more physical support of our abdominal cavity and our canals and our organs. And I wanted to learn how to do it. And I'm telling you, these things, you can't make them up, right? When spirit is guiding you, and when your spirit is just like, it's just like, just keeps coming. I found a woman online. I mean, there's no website, no
No.
nothing. I found her on Facebook. Like something popped up, and you know how it goes. We all know
Yeah.
how it goes. So I'm like, find her, and there's only like a WhatsApp number, and I'm texting her, and we're talking like a little bit, and she mentioned a training that she was doing in Guatemala. on Lake Atitlan. And I was like, wonderful. This is great. Sign me up. And she was like, but it's not a retreat. So there's no place to stay. You would have to go to and from. And I just got my learner's permit to drive. So I wasn't I'm learning how to drive, but I didn't drive. I'm in the process of learning Spanish, so I don't speak the language. And I'm all for adventure, but I know how deep the womb work can be. And I knew that I was waiting for a container with some nanas, and some midwives to hold that space as I learn and also receive. So we were in touch for like 3 or 4 years. And I was just like, girl, just let me know. Her name is Maddie. Just let me know when you have a retreat. Like, I can see it. Your work is expanding. I believe in you. Like, put it together. Like, you build it, we'll come. We all want it. And so she reached out to me and was like, listen, I'm having this retreat. I don't know how it's gonna go. I haven't put something like this together. And I said, doesn't matter, sign me up. So really followed. It was actually right after I was in Portugal with the Sacred Woman School. Hmm. And we activated the code of surrender. And I, she, Mariu told me about this, and it was like, you have a month to get there. And I was like, I surrender.
Yeah.
Thank you, my sisters. Thank you to this land, Portugal. Thank you to these codes. Thank you to my teacher, Molly. Like, thank you for this guidance on really listening to my womb's true calling. And I ended up in Guatemala in the most beautiful center overlooking the three volcanoes of this sacred lake that is bottomless, which is a womb portal within itself, right? And um yeah, learning the traditional techniques and movements of organ manipulation and cradling of the womb, traditional ways to make balms for the abdominal care, um, and really going out at bare bones, working on the floor for 6, 7 hours a day, wrapped in a faja so tight you can't breathe because fajas began as organ holders or organ
Wow.
huggers. Yeah. After deep organ manipulation, traditional fajas were made so that if somebody has a prolapsed anything, especially womb and after pregnancy or pregnancy losses, you can place the womb back into place
Wow.
and you stay wrapped.
I didn't know that. That's amazing.
Hmm. So everything that women wear to work out and get their waist slimmer to look good underneath their clothing has these traditional roots, which is really beautiful. Yeah, so working with them there, um, just allowing for the teachings to flow. The Mayan teachings are so different from what I was used to. Um, um, Beautiful fires made out of bundles of candles. Like they would bundle, let's say 1,000 candles together, and that would be your fire instead of a traditional wood fire, smoking big fat puros, big cigars, which is how you pray, learning how to read them. I work with tobacco deeply and hape deeply. Um, so learning these different ways of how to work with tobacco and smoke and ashes. And then really being gifted the traditional ways of these massage, which is done as in a temestal, with herbal baths, which is incredible, with your sisters and your mothers and your abuelas around you chanting and drumming and everybody being in the nude, and working with all of the herbs in there, especially rue, which is a very strong protective herb. And Yeah, it was incredible. It was beautiful. And at the end of my training, which was about a month, I want to say about a month, um, the minute that I laid my hands and I was able to get so deep that I was feeling somebody's womb, I was like, training. I don't need a training. I've been doing this for centuries, you
Mhm.
know. It was incredible. And I asked them about how to be able to gift these practices with my personal work, with my specific clientele too. And they told me to put my spin on it, which has been such a joy to be able to put a personal stamp on traditional work, but still stay true to the roots and honor the ways of the Mayan midwives and their traditions. I use a lot of smoke in my practices, and it's just it brings me so much joy to be able to be a bridge here to these traditional practices.
Yeah, and it sounds so transformative. Like it's
Mm.
so intensive for you every single day for a month to surrender, to just do, to be on the floor, do all this work, to do temazcales, to be in the nude, to be in the presence of just pure feminine, period.
Yes, I think it unlocked places in me I never expected for it to.
Mm.
I didn't know that they needed unlocking. You know, that the those surrender codes came out through my yoni during these times. The amount of like magical mist that was coming out of my orifices, I couldn't comprehend what was being moved inside of me until I came home and saw how much wider I could love, saw how much deeper I could walk. And it's just been a joy ever since. I offer 1 to 2 days a month of donation based work where I donate all my proceeds to the nanas and the midwives of the Mayan crew that I worked with and that taught me so sweetly and diligently and patiently, because the work it's challenging. It's challenging for the giver and for the receiver. Um, there are some days where you're tender and you can't get as deep as you want to get. So that's a really beautiful way to that I like to give back to them too.
Oh, that's beautiful. And you mentioned that the surrender codes came out from your yoni. So for those people that are listening that don't know what a yoni is, could you explain that?
Of course. So our yoni is our beautiful, so many names for it, right? And I was just about to say this name that we we say to my niece, who's a Brazilian, which is Xoxeca. That's how we speak about her yoni. So your yoni is your vagina, your vulva, really, and your vaginal canal. Some Traditionally it's this a beautiful flower, which is your vulva and your vulva lips. But as as life expands, we expand it into our larger reproductive organs, as we see that it looks like a beautiful blooming flower as well.
Yes, thank you, thank you. And to follow up with the yoni, how
Mhm.
has connecting this deeply with your yoni affected your life?
uh I owe it all to it. I I live the best life I could possibly live at this moment, at this minute, at this second. I since we're many of us work with the Sacred Women's School and with Molly. When I went through the New Earth Medicine program, we were activating the lover, and that week I fell in love, and really beautiful. And once I got back from so then everything was to follow. Um, um, I When I got back from Guatemala, my now fiance and I moved in together. So this part of worthiness that has to do with surrendering into your truest nature, um, these these like these codes of abundance, for me, they all surround surrender. Without surrender, I couldn't live in the wealth, the happiness, and the love that I live in today. If I wasn't big enough in my own self to be able to put down what doesn't serve me, to quiet my mind, to reconstitute the connection between my yoni, my heart, my throat, and my mind, I wouldn't be able to like that. To me, that's the biggest surrender. And I've found that the gifts just keep on coming. If you would have asked me prior um to Portugal with the Sacred Woman School, if I would be where I was a couple years later, I would have said no. I didn't even know that these this part of my life existed. So yeah.
I love how you said that there's a part of worthiness that has to do with true surrender.
Hmm.
And it's not surrender giving up, it's like just surrender. And when you said that, like I felt what that means.
Hmm.
Because I didn't know what surrender was personally until I did. Or I went through a temazcal myself.
Mm.
When I did the temazcal ceremony, that's when I sat down and I was like, oh, I thought I was surrendering before.
Yep.
No, I have to surrender now. If I
Hmm.
want to survive this, I need to let go of everything.
Hmm.
If not, I would have driven myself, I don't know.
Hmm.
Um, so it's just learning what true surrender is for you can come in a bunch of different ways. But I don't know what it was about that phrase about the part of worthiness that has to do with true surrender. Like that just stuck with me.
I think that we're so used to holding on to what what we've found comfort in, even if it's finding finding comfort in uncomfortable situations, and not the uncomfortable situations that cause growth, the uncomfortable situations that, we have to go through in order for us to know how worthy we really are of some more comfort, of more more lush, more gentle, more soft, and we've walked with hardened wombs,
Mm.
and rightfully so, um, in this deep state of protection. And I think as we protect ourselves, because we feel like we have to close ourselves off in whatever ways, small ways, big ways, right? The soul doesn't know how to measure trauma. Yours are as big as mine are as big as everybody's, Um, we we hold on to this firmness within ourselves, and when we surrender and we start to play in our motherboard, and we're able to put the pieces back together within ourselves, I mean, all the gifts appear, and the softness comes, and the gentleness comes, and you're able to hear the whispers more clearly, and there's nothing cooler than, you asking a question 1,000 times, and then all of a sudden you get the answer, and you're like, all I had to do was sit still. All I had to do was quiet my mind.
Yeah.
All I had to do was hold my womb, and really just, make sure that she knows that I got her. We're here surrendering together. All the cells in my body are safe. We're moisturized. We're hydrated. Like, we're good. We can release all that, and the codes and the information are just waiting to like sparkle out of us. And I think surrender is the key. I'm in a deep state of surrender right now. I don't know how I'm not like a pile of water on the floor. Um, but here we are.
Yes, we're flowing, we're flowing.
Hmm.
So something that I had mentioned before the call is that every time that I like imagine you or like I think about you, I think of you like this little fairy that's just floating around everywhere and just sprinkling fairy dust wherever you go.
Well, thank you. That's my truest form. Thank you for seeing me, sister. I appreciate that.
Of course, it just bring this like sprinkleness. That's the best way that I can describe it into everything that you do. Um, and with that, I wanted to talk about like the mythical story.
Oh,
The
yeah.
mythical
Mm,
story.
my
And
mythical story.
yes, your mythical story, girl.
Ooh. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
So you had written this beautiful mythical story that was used to alchemize a part of your life. We all had this assignment. And the thing that just amazed me was that you only shared a voice note of 10 minutes of the story. And yes, this could have been a whole novel. And it was like, I was so immersed just listening to this. And I was like, oh my God, this is a book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the book is coming. Um,
You guys heard it
hold
here
on tight.
first.
You heard it here first. Vibes to Alma. Whew.
Yes.
Yeah. The book is coming eventually. What do you want to know?
Yeah. What I want to
Yes.
so I guess what I want to know really
Mm-hmm.
to not get into the story itself, because we'll
Mm-hmm.
talk about it when the book comes out. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
it's more like, what was the process like for you? You know, like just sitting here having this assignment to just create a mythical story and surrendering to it,
Mm.
surrendering to what needed to flow through and to the different symbolisms, the different metaphors, whatever happened. Like, how was that process for you?
So I was really excited to write it. And in my truest form, I waited till the last minute. Um, and and it just really flowed. I have been a writer for most of my life and really love fantasy. And I think that so many of us women are really we're playing in a fantasy world all the time as we create. You know, it's just our innate nature to like well, I don't know, to speak to creatures, to, see things that other people, other genders don't see. So, I think the mythical story came at a perfect time because I was am still in right now a rite of passage. So this big bridge between what was and what is now coming. Um, of that story. And the story was aching to get out of me because I have told my story, to many, many different people. When I say that, I mean, I've told my story to lawyers, to people, police officials, and many different factions of the government have heard my story. And my sisters who have held me through my story, and my family who's been there for me. Um, but never was I able to uh say it without talking about me specifically. And it allowed me to find this peace and freedom within this lifetime of this story. Because that story be began to be written when I was about 8 years old.
Hmm.
And I'm 35 now. So it's a lengthy, it's one lengthy theme that's run through my life, where many people have had many different ones. This has been mine. And it gave me a chance to pull back. It gave me a chance to really see how far I've came with this. And it's I'm finding it challenging to talk about without talking about what the story is about, you know? But that means that you're a great interviewer. So Um, um, did I answer the question?
Yeah, like you were able to find this, I guess, peace
Yeah.
sharing the story because now you're able to put your perspective into it, your
Hmm.
feeling, your feeling
I
into.
think, yeah, I think writing in a fantasy space, where things can be magical and mystical and they don't have to make sense, allows for a bigger space of healing within the subconscious. And I think that, you know, um, us being storytellers since the beginning of time, women holding these oral traditions, sparking that back really was like, wow. And
Mhm.
listening to all of our sisters' stories too was, made it so much easier to surrender into, you know, you're not your character, like like your character can be anything that you want it to be. So I think it was a wonderful activity. I've suggested it to many of my clients and rolled with it with many of my clients. And it's been life altering for them as it was for me too. And um, yeah, now I have to go back and read my story.
Yes, it's a good story. It's a good story.
Man, we're gonna talk about the story. I should have read my story.
Yes. And it's just nice too, like the power in writing, the power in letting go of the expectations of it having to make sense or not making sense. The letting go of like, if I read this in a factual way, are people going to like come at me and like try to give me their perspective of the story so I change my narrative? Like it's
Yeah. Mhm.
fantasy, it's fiction, it's
Yeah.
fiction.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing about it too is that it came at a time where I actually had to write my story
Nice.
and hand in my life story basically um to some lawyers, and I had to give that to them, and it almost came hand in hand. So to be able to see the split and the difference, and like truly the fantasy was mine, it is my interpretation of it now. What happened is not, it's that's not my reality anymore. The fantasy of this, this beautiful overcoming, like coming through and breaking through all of it, and being in all of my fairy magic is really my truth.
Yeah.
The story was just what got me to uncover my truth and to have bags and bags of wisdom that I carry around with me now, So I got to give it up to that storytelling. That was great.
Yes, and I'm super excited for whenever it comes out. You guys heard it here first, and
Hmm.
we heard it first with the training.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the
Yeah.
second place we heard it. So yeah, I'm super excited for that. You are just a very talented writer, and with your story and everything that has led you to this point, you just have everything under your tool belt. You have so many little breadcrumbs that have allowed you to create this safe container to guide people to go into their own depths of their subconscious, to go into
Hmm.
the roots of their tangles, like how you went through them yourself, to be able to come out on the other side, living their favorite, like their perfect life,
Yeah.
their fairy life.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. If it wasn't for like so many of us, for our life experiences and our, everything that comes with it, the timelines and the lifetimes and the harming debts and the whatever we have, couldn't show up as full as we do for support and service and love of other people in our community. So whatever it is that everybody's going through, no matter what, it is a true gift. And once you like unearth that gem, it really is.
Yes. And with that, I wanted to ask if there's someone listening to this episode that is having a hard time surrendering to the flow of life or
Mm.
just understanding what surrender truly is for them, can you give them maybe a piece of advice or a message?
Sure. Um, I think that it's different for everybody because it's held differently in the body for everybody. And because I'm a body worker, this is where my advice comes in. Um, I what I suggest to a lot of women that I work with who are finding it challenging to surrender to their truth, to surrender into releasing stagnation that may live within them, old patterns and storylines that they're holding on to for fear of their own greatness. Because in truth, when you surrender, you uncover your greatness. Is a hand on the sacrum, a hand on the sacrum, and a hand on the womb. And expand your breath into expanding the space in between your hips, your pelvic bowl. Um, and taking a few breaths there every day. And a part of that secret is that the sacrum is a bone that um some most of the time never disintegrates. It is said in many cultures that it holds the DNA of every person you've ever been, and
Wow.
that the soul, and that the soul uses it as a GPS to come back to, and that's where you're born again from. So when we hold on to this sacrum and realize that you have surrendered your whole life, all of your lifetimes, you're activating this where this code really, really lives. So I think just breathing deeply into the pelvic bowl. Um, and for me, advice means that you don't have to think too much. Um, so just a deep breath into the pelvic bowl, into the sacrum, into the womb. And we got your back.
Oh, that sounds beautiful. Wow, that's
uh,
like that practice, me just sitting here listening to it and imagining it just sounds so expansive and liberating.
mhm.
Yes, I'm gonna try that
Yes,
today.
please do report back.
Oh, yes, sure. Yes.
Mhm.
So how can people find you or connect with you?
Great. So currently I'm not on Instagram. I am taking a much needed break. Although I was never that active, but we all find what works for us. Um, you can find me on my website, which is Nata, Nata, VAM.com. And there are links there with all of my services offered. Some of them are offered via Zoom. Most of them are in person, but I tend to like get around a little bit. And you can also receive a free womb activation and meditation on the bottom if you sign up for upcoming newsletters that will be coming up like the summertime. Um, and yeah, that's where you can find me right now.
Perfect, perfect. I'll have the link for the website in the show notes for those of you that would like to connect with you. And even though she doesn't actively participate on Instagram, she does have an Instagram page.
Oh yeah, I do. I do.
I'm talking about you in the third person. You have an Instagram page.
I do have an Instagram page. I will send it to you so you can place it on the bottom. I think my handle. I don't I'm not too sure, so
I
I'll
got you. I
get you
got
all
you.
the information. We're like in our hut healer work over here.
Yes, no, you're good. You're good. Just to let you all know that if you want to find her page on Instagram, she's there. But if you message her on Instagram, she's probably not gonna respond. It's better to connect with you on your website.
Yes, yes, please. And yeah, and on my website you'll see some upcoming circles and different things happening in the New York City area, which is where I'm located. With some wonderful sisters who, we have a beautiful worldwide womb web here.
Mm.
And have some beautiful offerings coming up. And yeah,
Yes, perfect. Well, thank you for coming on here today on this podcast and letting me interview you.
thank you so much, sister. This was such a joy. Thank you so much for this platform, for this dedication you have to this work, to getting, people's voices out and letting other people know that, we're all walking together,
Mm.
or walking each other home to these places of peaceful surrender.
Ma'am, yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Yeah. So with that being said, thank you all for listening. Until next time. That was such a great episode. I'm so excited that you sat with that and that you heard the power that Nata has, that exudes from her and her innate wisdom for the womb and the power of surrender. If you're in the New York City area or if you ever go there, definitely get in touch with her for a one-on-one service with her to really heal that womb space, or even to go to one of the community events that she hosts with other amazing sisters, because sometimes community work is super powerful, and so is a one-on-one service as well. So make sure to look for the show notes for the information as to how to connect with her the best. And until next time, y'all.